In this video, we will create a highly interactive and visually stunning project showcase component. This will be a responsive design with different components for desktop and mobile screen sizes. Let's begin with the desktop component. As always, create a scope for our animation using the useRef hook. Define the desktop div as the scope. Create the project heading, and for the border, add the border B class. Since we need a border bottom on multiple elements, we add the utility class border B instead of styling the border on each element individually. Create a projects list div, and inside it, use the map function to loop over the list array. Make an anchor tag for our links with the classes projects item and border B. Then create the project name and type inside it. Let's hide the desktop by default and use a media query to display it on bigger screens. Add basic styling for the project heading and items. Create the border B and an image wrapper class nested inside the projects class. The border B is self-explanatory, and for the image wrapper class, we use an aspect ratio of 1:1 to make it a square. Add a padding inline of 7% and use flexbox to center the image that will be inside the wrapper. We are going to use this image wrapper on both mobile and desktop devices. That's why we are creating it inside the projects class and not inside the individual desktop or mobile classes. Now comes the fun part of actually animating it. First, we need to understand what exactly is happening in the animation. Let's list them one by one. When we hover over the project section, a window sorts open with an image and a view button inside it. Upon moving to other link, the old image moves out and a new image comes in. The window also follows our cursor, but notice the elements of the window don't move at the same rate. The view text is the fastest, followed by the blue background, and lastly the image, which is the slowest. This creates a sort of dragging effect on the window that looks really good. The button expands when we click on it, and finally the window shrinks when the cursor leaves the project. Initially, we will just use a placeholder div to act as our window. We will add the image and button later on. Create a div with the class projects window. Apply an aspect ratio and width along with the position of fixed. I am also going to apply a temporary background color of black here. Also set pointer events to none, otherwise it will interfere with our animations. We will create an initialized GSAP function, so our code is much cleaner. Now set the window scale to 0 using the GSAP's set method. Then create the expand window and shrink window functions. Set those functions as mouse enter and mouse leave handlers on the project list div. You can also use the main desktop div if you want, but I personally prefer this approach. Now let's make it follow our cursor. Create a move project window function. Fetch client X and client Y from the event object and use a toTween to move our project window to those coordinates. Let's set this function as the mouse move handler and see how it looks. The window follows our cursor, but it isn't centered. We can fix this by subtracting half of the width from client X and half of the height from client Y. We can use a ref to access the element's properties. Set the new XY values and check the results. It works. One last thing we need to make sure is that the window should open from the location of the cursor and not from where it was closed the last time. We can use move project window inside the expand window so we don't repeat our code. But we need to make it instant, so we will use an isInstant parameter. This will dynamically change the duration to 0. Also, stop the XY twins when the window shrinks by using the kill twins off inside the onComplete callback. This will make sure all the XY twins are stopped when the window shrinks, as we don't need them anymore. Now, it's time to add the view button. Instead of directly adding the view button inside the window, we will create separate elements for the view and the background, both having the class of project window. Now, what is the reason behind it, you may ask? Well, it's mostly because we need to create a dragging effect on the window. For this, we need to set different animation durations for each of the three elements. If everything is nested inside the window, then everything will move at the same time. We also need to make sure those are the same size so we can use the same x and y values for all three elements. Remember, we need their width and height to center the elements. If they have different values, it would mean we have to calculate the x and y values each time for each element, and that would be too cumbersome. Create a wrapper for the blue blob, and we can use a p tag for our view text. Center the blob and the view text using flexbox. Next, apply basic styling on the blob. Over in the GSAP code, use the wrap method to assign different durations. And now, we have our dragging effect working as intended. While we are at it, create expand blob and shrink blob functions to scale our blob on mouse clicks. Set the expand blob as the mouse down and shrink blob as the mouse up handler. Lastly, let's get our images. Add the image strip wrapper class to our empty projects window. Create a div with image strip inside it. Add the images inside the div using the map function. Set the background color and class of image wrapper to a div with an image tag inside it. We need to get rid of all the other images that are currently displayed. So hide them using the overflow of hidden on our image strip wrapper. We have already applied the styles on the image wrapper earlier. Our dragging effect is now complete. Let's get them images moving. So for that, create the list item enter function. We need to determine how much the image strip needs to move to get the corresponding image to the link we are hovering. For this, we would need the index of the link. We can divide the index by the total length of the list and multiply by 100 to get the exact percentage of where the image is on the strip. To make the image move upwards, we have to use a negative of 100. Now set the y% on image strip and our window is complete. Notice we have the link itself animating here. So let's apply that as well. In list item enter, fetch the children object. It contains the project name and type. Define an x value and a lighter color for our text. Use the wrap method to move both elements in opposite directions. Now let's add the reset animation in list item leave function. Again, fetch the children's object, apply x of 0 and the color to its original value. Our desk component is ready. Pretty good. Now let's move on to its mobile counterpart, the mobile component. For mobile users, we display each project as a card with its image on top and details on the bottom. Use the map function on our list array to create the cards. Then we have the image wrapper div with the same background color and image inside it as we did in the desktop component. Next, create the content div with the project name and type inside it. Add a border B to the project name. Use display grid for the layout and add some basic styling. Use a media query to create 2 columns for tablet screens. Otherwise, the images will get way bigger. Use our older media query to hide the mobile component on larger screens. The mobile component is now complete and see what it looks like. Our project's showcase component is now complete.